If you didn't hear over the weekend, that is the big story in the trading card biz, in the hobby right now. It's, I'm coming from this from an outsider's perspective here, Doug, where, I was working in sports radio, and during the time of no sports during the pandemic, the thing that kept coming up every single week, we're looking for things to talk about. We're looking for stories. And it's like, man, trading cards are going through the roof right now. There's this Mike Trout card just sold for well over $1 million. This LeBron James card just broke that record. And now, as you can see, the Mike Trout signed rookie card goes for $3.9 million at auction. Breaks the all-time record. It breaks the record, I believe, the Honus Wagner card, the Holy Grail of baseball cards, breaks that record. Obviously, it obliterates the modern card record. Just crazy stuff. You see it right there. That's first Bowman, Chrome, Superfractor, Auto of Mike Trout that's sold for a pretty penny. And the guy who did it would be a guy who is either maybe a little infamous, notorious. I don't know maybe what the word would be for Vegas Dave, who... Look, I'll just say this. Look, good for you. You made a big profit on the card, but hey, man, don't need to be going around and disparaging the good working folks. I think he said something to the effect of like, I did no manual labor and I just flipped this for $3.6 million. Meanwhile, you're at a job working 40 hours a week and you hate your boss. Like, hey, all right, buddy. No need to throw us, the regular folk, under the bus. Come on, man.
Right. I mean, the average consumer is not going to be able to afford the $400,000 price tag that he bought that card to begin with 2 years ago. Props to him. Obviously, his brand is sports betting. So he uses his, I don't know if it's a facade he's putting on, but obviously it's a way of getting people to go to his betting site and getting betting advice, buying betting advice. And he's had some great bets that he will not let you forget about. But to put this in perspective, this card came out in 2009. I wasn't even really into the hobby around there, but I went to spring training in 2009, right when this came out. So Bowman Draft is the set that it was in. And those typically come out at the end of the year. So then when you head into the spring training, actually it was spring training in 2010, I went to a local card shop in Arizona and I bought one of these boxes for $70. So it just shows you how big of a lottery ticket this thing came to be, because I could have gotten lucky and pulled it, and whoever obviously did got lucky and pulled it. And 11 years later, we're talking about a crazy almost $4 million card. So that came out of a box that was literally under $100. Now you can't touch those boxes for under like 10 grand now for one single box. And obviously the Superfractor's been pulled, but there's still a lot of Trout autos out there in those boxes possibly. And what's crazy to me, and I know he's the best player in baseball and his stats and his WAR and all this stuff. Got to remember he's almost in the last place team this year. Right. So that's what's like befuddling to me, why it broke these modern records. And it really does speak to the way this industry is going. This moment may really, 10 years from now, say this was the epitome of our COVID/collecting that's going on, is this sale, which is crazy. I mean, we all knew when it went up, we were thinking it was going to be like 1.5 million, barely cracking 1 million. For the fact that it almost got to 4 million is crazy. I do want to see if it got paid. I do want to place a face to the card to see who actually bought it. And hopefully that works out as an investment. Maybe that person just really, really likes Trout. They bought the best card. But, love him or hate him, he just made the biggest flip of all time. I don't know if that will be topped. Granted, like we said, the average folk, nobody that I know will shell out $400K on a card and then, be able to turn this profit. You got to have the money to buy it anyway. But, there's stories like this going on in our hobby, and we're all trying to get the next guy. And this kind of vilifies the dream. If you are a flipper or if you are a collector, to be able to get something that's going to basically clock this kind of value and be talked about on ESPN and throughout all the celebrities. I mean, even Dave Portnoy from Barstool was tweeting about it. I mean, it was a good moment for our hobby, good or bad.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, is it's this hobby has, just like everything, once you go mainstream, it's for better or worse, for people who've been in it for years. It's like, where were you when these things were happening? But I think certainly over the last few months, it's definitely made that jump to the mainstream where this is a big story. I mean, go ahead and Google Mike Trout today. We'll show it a little bit, but the top thing you're seeing is the fact that this card sold for a crazy amount of money.
Yep.
And I guess, and you alluded to it, where does this stop? Is this going to be, are we at the point where it doesn't get anything beyond this? But I feel like every time we say there's no way it gets crazier than this. I mean, I think with the LeBron James card, it felt like, no way. This is it.
Yeah.
This is the peak. We've reached the mountaintop. It's not going to get any bigger than this. And then this happens, and it's not that it just tops it. It almost more than doubles what the LeBron James card went for just a month ago. I'm not sure where it goes from here. Mike Trout obviously is a once-in-a-lifetime talent. If he God forbid he has to retire tomorrow, he's still a Hall of Famer, first ballot. But you mentioned it, is if he doesn't win a World Series, or if somehow the career sort of tails off, like he will always be seen as this all-time great player, but he may not be the all-time great player, and so suddenly this $4 million investment 10 years later is not looking so hot. So I just wonder where it ends. Is there going to be another sort of player who is going to command this type of price, this type of attention? Are we just going to see another LeBron James one of one card go for maybe $5 million now? I mean, I don't even know where the ceiling is at this point.
And we want to know if there's somebody that could break this record. Let's fast forward 15 years from now. Is there somebody currently in the league that Superfractor could possibly top Mike Trout? Obviously, there's a lot of Tatis fans right now, and his cards are going up. Acuna's had hype over the last few years. Is there somebody that can dethrone this sale 10 years from now or 15 years from now? Now, I know we're going to have inflation, and that happens, but we're going to have somebody that's better than Trout. Is that possible in the next 15 years? We want to hear in the comment below.
I don't think there's going to be. Trout is such a generational talent. I mean, every time they put up some new stat, it's like, all right, and if you subscribe to the stat wins above replacement, or if you don't, but the fact is every day you see like, all right, now Trout's passing another Hall of Famer on that list, and he passes Mickey Mantle on that list. You go, oh my God, like this just isn't normal. This doesn't happen every 10 years. It happens maybe every 50 years or so.
Right.
So I'm not sure if it happens, but I don't know if it's weird because he's clearly a once in a lifetime talent. We may never see another Mike Trout, and yet I'm not sure if a $4 million investment in his card is that sound an investment. I think there might be better investments. You mentioned Tatis and guys like that who I think are going to be Hall of Fame type talents. Who, and if they don't, you could maybe flip it for a big price now, and then down the road if they don't pan out, at least you got it early. So
yeah, and I think the thing for me too is that the fact that are the Angels ever going to build a good enough team around Trout to get him at least one World Series ring? And 2 or 3 years ago, I'd say they're on the right path. But after seeing what's going on with the Angels this year, how well he's performing, they're not winning games. I don't know if that organization will turn around in enough time to get this guy a ring. And then if you have this card, you're like, well, I mean, he didn't win a ring. I mean, I have Barry Bonds cards, and obviously, there's the steroid talk. But the other thing is that Barry never won a World Series championship. So do you guys think that Trout will win a World Series championship? I mean, how many more years do we think Trout has? Solidly in his prime, 5-6 more years?
Yeah, I'd say at least 5 or 6. And, I think baseball, too, is one of the few sports where not winning a World Series is not going to really hurt your value or your reputation as much. Just look at Ken Griffey Jr. cards. Yep. Ken Griffey Jr. cards, even with all the injuries he had throughout his career, those are still really highly coveted, are really valuable. Those rookie cards are some of the most coveted in the game. So I think that it's something that would clearly help the price go up. But if he doesn't, and he keeps performing at the pace he is right now, which is a historic pace, I think it'll be fine. But again, a $4 million investment, it's just a really crazy number to even wrap your head around. And Doug, we did a little bit of price comparison here with that $4 million number. What does that actually get you? And you looked this up, a mansion that Vegas Dave would maybe be able to now buy with that nice investment on this card, a $3.8 million mansion in Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it's 9,000 square feet, 6 bedrooms. You can see the pool. I mean, crazy. I mean, it's just, I mean, that's you bring your friends over, and you show them that you bought this house. I think that's going to drop a few more jaws than a Mike Trout superfractor.
Look at that pool. Are you kidding me?
Ridiculous. I mean, I know it gets really hot in Vegas, so that pool's probably going to be used quite a bit, but it's crazy to me, who doesn't own a house currently, to see somebody spend that kind of money on one card. Yeah. So that's why I'm really interested in seeing who bought this. Was it a face of a company? Was it a retired baseball player? Was it, I know the owner of the Diamondbacks buys cards. Is he involved in this? So, and you know what? Sometimes when somebody buys something like this, they like to remain anonymous. We may never know, because, it's a security issue. A lot of guys that win lottery don't want to, people that win lottery don't want to have their face. They just don't want people to hit them up for money or to know that they have something like this in their possession. So, but it would be really interesting to see who purchased this card.
Yeah, very interesting to see. I saw that Joe Madden, now currently the manager of the Angels, was told at the post-game press conference the other day that this card sold for this much money. And I think his quote was, "How much did the Mona Lisa go for?" About the same price, right? So that really puts things in perspective.
Really?
So let's also put a little more in perspective. I just looked up, okay, let's say you want to buy the Tesla Model X. We see a lot of those rolling around here in the Bay Area. There's a lot of money floating around the Bay Area, and that's a pretty expensive car. It runs you about about $80,000. So I was wondering, how many Tesla Model X cars could you buy for the price of a first Bowman Superfractor Auto Mike Trout card? How about 49 if you got room in your garage for the Tesla Model X? And who doesn't need a trip right now? I think we all need a vacation with everything going on. So how about a nice trip to Hawaii? That's, you got to save up for months for that. And if for the same exact price, a trip for one to Hawaii, you could take 2,079 trips for one to Hawaii for the same price.
And just think about the camaraderie you would have with those. Like, say you bought 49 Teslas, which is stupid, it will never happen, but you could keep 10, give to 39 of them to your closest friends and relatives. And I think anybody would do anything for you at that point. I know they say money can't buy happiness, but if you bought somebody a Tesla, I'm pretty sure they would show up to all your birthday parties, all your kids' birthday parties.
Exactly.
Any trip you had, anything. And or you could be just sitting with a one-on-one piece of cardboard and convince people that you spent $3.8 million on it. And how many of those people would actually believe that you spent $3.8 million on a baseball card? It'd be probably hard to convince a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you give me an all-expense-paid trip to Hawaii, I will basically be at your whim for the rest of your life.
Exactly.
I'm pretty much set.